All right, welcome to the second episode of the Mach Speed F1 Podcast. We'll be covering the events surrounding the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix this time around. And honestly, this race wasn't as exciting as I was hoping it would be. It
Oh, exciting.
it had some decent excitement. Really, it was just due to more unexpected factors. If you watch the race, you already know. But We'll just go ahead and get straight into it. So, covering the race overview. Going into the weekend, there was, how do I put this? Let's just say it began with the appendicitis strikes back, and this time it was Carlos Sainz that was affected. So, unfortunately, he had to call out after the first two practice sessions, leaving Ollie Behrman, with no points to his name in Formula 2,
Who just got
to,
pole?
well, he got pole, granted, so I mean, hey, that says something. He would have scored points, everybody. But, anyways, uh, he was called in and took in that Ferrari seat for FP3 quality and the rest of the weekend, really. So, that was certainly an event, and he managed to do well, and that's something we'll be covering more in detail as we have a fully dedicated talking point for that one. So, yeah, that was honestly quite incredible.
Yeah.
Now, for him to just step into that car immediately and go for it,
Mhm.
that's not easy, especially since it's a Ferrari. Like,
Right. I mean,
oof.
shush.
Yeah. We'll be
But
getting to that. Covering the rest of the weekend. I think now that we've seen two races, we have a little bit of a better idea, and I'm definitely convinced at this point that in terms of car hierarchy, Red Bull is of course at the top, no
mhm,
surprise. Just below that is Ferrari. Just below that is McLaren and Mercedes on around the same level.
mhm.
Aston just a step below that, and then you have the bottom half all around the same level. Like,
Yeah.
it seems relatively even. And, well, we kind of established last week that there definitely seems to be a huge divide between the upper half and the lower half. And so that means for those bottom 5 teams, every single point they can scrap is going to count. Like, every single point. Obviously, every single point counts, but,
Mhm.
it's even more essential to get any point you can because most of the time it's going to be occupied by those top 5 teams. Of course,
Well,
if something were to happen, like one of those drivers from those top five teams crashing into a wall and
scroll.
DNFing, yeah, an opportunity may arise. And well, we saw how hard they were fighting it in that latter half. One particular team came out on top and managed to score that P10. But other things going on was, of course, the surprising lack of safety cars. Just the one, and then
Yeah.
why for the rest of the race?
Well, here's the thing. This is the first race that we had in Joe without a red flag.
That is true, and that's a good thing to see. I still think the track is dangerous. Even Max Verstappen himself has said that.
Mhm.
And well, of course, what a surprise! He won again, and this makes it his 100th podium. And when he was asked about it, it's like, "Hey, how does it feel to get 100 podiums in 188 races?" His reply was, "Well, that's just 88 missed podiums," which, I mean, okay. I'm gonna get a little philosophical here, which I know is surprising, but like I think that mindset that Max has is one of the main keys to his success. Like he
Well,
doesn't worry about being better than everybody else and things like that. He's just like, what is the best that I can do? How can I improve?
here's the other thing that is not as much talked about. I mean, it's happened before. And I know it's happened every other time, but they just talked about it this time for some reason. After the race, he went back to his trailer room, hopped on iRacing until 4 a.m.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is a guy who like lives and breathes racing, even more so than Alonso, for example. Like this is a guy who is truly passionate in this sport. And I mean, like, the drive, the work ethic, the care that he has, I mean, it's no surprise that he's a top level driver, and he absolutely deserves all the praise he gets. I mean, I already know that there are people out there saying he's only good because of the car, which is absurd.
Mhm.
And of course, people said the same thing about Lewis, but I think his rookie season would beg to differ. And maybe we'll be covering that as an episode one day because I would definitely love to cover. Okay, I'm gonna be real. 2007 to 2010 was just a whole saga on its own, right? Like, oh
It was
man,
covered mostly by the back end was covered by a guy that I like.
yeah, it was. Ooh, yeah. But anyways, yeah. I mean, Max,
Well,
you can see it. Like even at the top, he's still focusing on like little errors and mistakes here and there, and looking to clear that up. Red Bull's the same way, and so like that combination is just like it's deadly. It's a reason why
yeah,
they're so good.
that is very true, and I'll say this since you just brought up Lewis. Lewis did not look really his normal self this weekend.
No, he didn't. I was
And
going to bring that
also
up too. Yeah.
Ricardo in that same way.
Yeah. And
Ricardo and Hamilton, like you and I have seen them race hundreds of times. I mean, McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull with Ricardo, AlphaTauri to RB,
Toro
just
Rosso.
Toro Rosso. They just did not. It looked like they were two totally different people driving that car compared to the seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton and what we know is the man who's arguably the latest on the brakes in the entire grid, Daniel Ricciardo.
Well, yeah, I do agree that both of them seem to be off their game. I think a little part of it is just the nature of Saudi. It's
Mhm.
just,
Lewis has never truly been confident around Jet outside of the first time.
yeah, and Danny Rick missed out. Well, yeah, he missed out on a year of Saudi.
Mhm.
So that doesn't help either. I also, this is going to sound weird. I think Yuki Tsunoda in general just fares better. Well, this also
Yeah.
applies to George Russell. I think both of them just fare better at the Middle Eastern theater of
Well,
Formula
also
One.
you bring up Sonoda. Sonoda didn't have that good of a race either.
Well, no, but I mean their car wasn't that good to
No,
begin with in
no.
that situation. But I mean, also, this is something that I've noticed. Like the younger drivers on the grid definitely seem to have a better time
Mhm.
at the Middle Eastern tracks and such, more so than some of the older drivers. Like Oscar did better than
Mhm.
Lando this week, and Lando is an incredible driver. We can't really deny
There's
that.
no doubt.
Yeah,
0 doubt.
and I suspect that it's going to start to kind of flip around once we get to the European circuits
Mhm.
and some of the more traditional tracks.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we'll have to see what happens, of course. Granted,
yeah,
it's only two races in, so we can't really call everything just yet, but
yeah.
it's certainly
I do wanna
interesting.
circle back to one thing real quick
Yeah.
before we move. You were talking about with the bottom 5 really duking it out. To me, obviously, like you said, like a top 5 team driver crashing out like Stroll in Jeddah helps them get to those points finishes or grand just P10. But I also think it could come down to qualifying as well. Whoever gets the best run or whoever finishes highest already has that edge over, say, with Hulkenberg, he qualified well. That he's already got the advantage over Williams, RB, and they already have to claw back through the rest of that pack. That's all right there.
Oh yeah, and well, Hulkenberg in general over one lap is incredible. Bottas is
Mhm.
good too, but I'm gonna
He's
be
been
honest.
unlucky.
Well, no, Bottas has been unlucky, but also it's just like my car is not very good, so I'm not really worried about it. He's kind of in like the Kimi Alfa Romeo phase of his career
The
currently.
long stop in Bahrain, he just was like, okay.
Yeah, I like Bahrain has had well, not very. Bottas has had horrific luck, which I mean, it all began with the 43-hour pit stop. Is all I'm saying about that. But
Yeah.
yeah. Moving on into our next point is going to be covering the star of the weekend. Now, this can apply to a driver or a full team, and I have my choice picked out. But I'm wondering who you're going to pick.
I mean, there's several options. I mean, I could take the obvious choice. There's a few obvious choices, but I'm gonna do Ollie Behrman.
Well, yeah, that I mean, like this is no surprise. He did a great job. We have a
Mhm.
full talking point about him
P11
later.
to points in P7. And granted,
Yeah,
some people are like, he's in a Ferrari, he's in the second fastest car. He's driven that car for all of like 30 minutes.
yeah. Credit where credit is due. He did a great job given the time that he had, and of course,
And driver today.
yeah. And I mean, there's a difference in physicality between F2 and F1 drivers, so he had to push himself extra hard to pull that off. And good on him. And yeah, although as much as I'd hate to say it, my choice for star of the weekend is actually going to be the Haas Formula One team. I
I can't argue with that.
Yeah,
I was going back and forth between with Haas and Ollie Behrman. I just had to give the edge to Ollie this week since it's his first drive.
yeah. As I established last week, I do have an anti-Alpine agenda. I also have an anti-Haas agenda. But I
You
mean,
too.
in this situation, I'm just looking at the entire thing, and I just think they did nothing wrong. They did exactly what they needed to. K
Mhm.
Mag, yeah, he got penalties and everything, but I mean, at that point, he just acted as the widest car on the grid. And after Stroll's DNF, I mean, there was an opportunity. They nailed their strategy, maximized it. Hulkenberg had great pace. They did everything they needed to do and managed to get a point. And like I said
Magnussen
before,
became a
bottom
robot.
5 teams, it's going to be really hard for them to get points. So, I mean, that 1 point could be the difference between them finishing sixth and last, potentially,
Yeah,
depending on how this
it
season
really
goes.
could. That like I can't remember a time that we've seen the bottom 5 rather, be this close.
Well, yeah, and also, like, I don't think we've ever seen a time where the top 5 teams and the bottom 5 teams had a very clear gap between them like that.
I
Like,
mean,
like there,
well,
it's a clear split.
look at when we had the regulation change. It was like from really fourth down to like seventh, they were all competing for points, and it was really interesting. And we just seen that just shift down, and now we're at the point where it's just the bottom 5 are all doing it, and the top 5 are almost. I say almost. It's not gonna happen every week, but they're almost guaranteed points.
Oh yeah, I mean, as long as the top 5 teams run at their best pace, outside of any crazy errors or mechanical failures or anything, I mean,
Or stroll moments.
judging by the pace, they should technically be able to finish and fill in all those points positions, meaning those bottom 5 teams just can't get anything. Again,
Hmm.
season developments can change. Who knows? Maybe one of
Yeah.
the bottom teams will nail their car development, or one of the top teams will fumble it. Mercedes.
No,
y-
no,
y-
no. I argue. I argue of a different team.
Aston.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that one too. But yeah. So I have to say props to Haas and of course
Mhm.
Behrman as well. We have a full point for Behrman later. But yeah, moving on into the flop of the weekend. There are also several options for this one.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering who you're picking.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, I that was one I put under heavy consideration, but I
So
ultimately went with Lance.
I agree with that. Here's my thing with Daniel. It also it falls more onto RB with this.
Yeah.
How do you have a 40-second pit stop and when something's breaking, there's no urgency at all in the pit crew to
Oh
fix it?
wait, I didn't even notice that they had a 40-second pit stop. Are you
40
kidding?
second pit stop. No one was driving in the pit lane. It was Ricardo and there was someone like a little bit ahead. I don't remember who it was, but they were ahead of him. But it's like the rear jack was not going down and there was like he's just like pressing the button a few times. It's like no urgency to get going. I was like, let's get some serpentine here. Let's get Ricardo back going.
Yeah,
Just nothing.
that's absurd.
Hmm.
It's absolutely absurd. Ignore
So
the phone ping,
I
everybody.
say it's Ricardo. I say it's Ricardo. It's probably more RB than Ricardo, but
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Danny Rick, but at the same time, I didn't even know about that 40-second pit stop, and that
nope.
actually explains a
They never
lot.
covered it. They
Y-
never covered
They
it.
they never covered that at all. But honestly, that explains why he was so far behind. But honestly, the fact that he managed to get as close as he did, and he was right up on the Williams by the end, I'm actually
Well, you say that he did spin on like the second to last lap.
oh, okay, yeah, he did spin, but honestly, like he wasn't scoring points. Who cares?
Right.
It was still the spin isn't good, but I'm just saying at that point, I mean, yeah. So that's honestly some enlightening information, and now I'm glad I didn't pick him as a choice, but I went with Lance for obvious reasons. Honorable mention goes to his radio man because
His
how
engineer.
yeah his race engineer like could he get the car
You
back?
bring the car back.
It's in the wall. Like I'm just thinking, you have all those tools and instruments in front of you, and you have all the cameras and everything, and you didn't notice he crashed. Why does Lance always get the worst engineers I've ever
It's
seen?
also like you have arguably a supercomputer in the car and on the pit wall. You can't tell that the wheel was dislodged.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Can you bring it
I
back? "Oh, yes, let me pull my car out of the wall for you. Get back and trudge along on, like, 2 tires to get home."
yeah, I will say I do appreciate though that we have another Lance engineer iconic radio moment. Of course, I still think the best one is Sachi 2021, where he said, "Can you stay out?" Yes, immediately spins. Like,
No!
yeah, just that was a little bit awkward, but
At least we didn't get strolled this week.
yeah, we didn't, but the wall did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on into our next point, the biggest WTF moment. I mean, there wasn't necessarily one in particular for me, but I'm just curious what
Okay.
you would pick.
I mean, I this is one I've been, like, thinking about, and I just this week is especially rough, but there's 2 that come to mind. There's really 2, and I'm really gonna put it as a tie, so I'm gonna have 2 this
Okay.
week. This is not gonna be too often. One is Gasly's gearbox dying immediately before we even got going. I was like, "Okay, that's
uh, yeah.
Alpine downfall part 2, but in red," but I mean, that was weird, and then also the other thing, Magnussen getting 20 seconds of time penalties.
Yeah, I mean, that was
The other
brutal.
one, the, like, overtake on Sonoda, I was like, "He's already ahead, why you got 10?"
Yeah, that one was a little weird, but the other penalty that he got, the 10 seconds, was fully deserved. I
Oh,
mean,
fully deserved. The other one, I am not arguing.
yeah.
That one against Sonoda, I'm like, "That shouldn't really been anything," in my opinion. He's
Yeah,
already ahead.
I think I got to give my biggest moment to Signs' appendix.
Jesus, Mage.
I mean, nobody expected it. It just came in out of nowhere. It's
No
like,
one
oh,
did.
Signs can't make it. Bring in Behrman.
I
Uh,
just saw that I woke up and saw I was like, "What?"
yeah, right. Like it was just out of nowhere. It was more sudden than Lewis's Ferrari reveal. Like that. That's how quick it was. At least we got like 12 hours of foreshadowing with Lewis before it happened.
Mhm,
But yeah, not really much to cover in that regard. So moving on into the two unique subjects. Obviously, we're covering Perriman's debut. Ferrari Jr. A lot of people have been hyping him up. I mean, he already seemed to be slated for the Haas seat next year.
mhm.
Because I mean, already being given 6 free practice sessions, that's not normal. That is absolutely not
And
normal.
with the rumor that he might be in for Australia if Sainz is still not ready to go, which it doesn't sound like he will be at this point.
Oh yeah, I mean, if Behrman gets another chance to prove himself and he gets results just like he did last weekend,
Mhm.
I mean, at that point, that Haas seat is going to be his. Now the question is, who are they replacing, and why is it Magnussen?
Well, I mean, here's the other thing with the whole potentially for Australia. They're training him right now as if he's on the team,
Well,
like as if he's
yeah. I
Carlos
mean,
Sainz.
I mean, that's just good practical. That's just a good practical thing to do. I mean, because that way, better safe than sorry. So if Signs is
Mhm.
available, oh well.
Great.
But hey, you got some good team building experience.
You
Otherwise,
got a good
fantastic. We got
2-week
you prepped
training
just in
period.
time. Yep, yeah, absolutely. And so that's going to be good for him. So he'll be more ready. Maybe we could see a miracle occur. It is Australia, so I mean,
Wait, doesn't he
yeah.
already have a practice session slated with Haas for for Australia?
Maybe I don't know. I mean,
I
if
think I
he
saw that. If he doesn't, then I mean, if he's in the Ferrari, he's gonna stay in the Ferrari, and
I
whoever
can't
was.
wait to watch him drive 2 cars at the same time. Truly
Oh,
impeccable talent.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Half an hour in the Haas and the other half an hour in the Ferrari. And you just see
Move
Behrman twice.
wow, these cars are the same except one is significantly slower. That's crazy. Um,
And we all know which one's slower.
yeah, the Ferrari. But,
That's
uh,
why I
it
can't sometimes.
in all seriousness, like, Behrman impressed, and honestly, I
Mhm.
think this performance, along with the free practice sessions and everything, I feel like he's going to be one of those drivers whose name is absolutely in for next year. Another one, which we'll be getting into in just a moment. But yeah, props to Behrman. Incredible debut. Did exactly what he needed to, and he's been getting praise across the board, rightfully deserved. So, I mean, hopefully we'll see him on the grid next year. And
Maybe for Australia.
Well, yeah, maybe it would be nice to see him again, although it would be
Yeah,
nice to see Signs back too. Honestly, it's a win
yeah,
either way, I think, but it'll be exciting to see what happens. So moving on into our semifinal talking point, the Red Bull driver shenanigans. How he brought up Danny Rick earlier with his woes in Saudi Arabia. There are a lot of talks going on, and well, it's while it's not outright confirmed, it's pretty much established that for that Red Bull seat, if someone is to replace Checo, yeah, obviously it's going to be Danny Rick or Yuki Tsunoda. In order for that to happen, one needs to fully destroy the other, basically. It needs to be complete another domination, kind of like what Lando did to Danny Rick in 2022. Like, there needs to be, like, well, or even better, Alex Albon to Logan Sargent just last year, for example. Like,
mhm.
it needs to be, like, a sweep. Right now, the advantage is to Yuki, and which isn't good for Danny Rick because I mean already
I
his reputation got badly damaged, if not outright destroyed after what Lando did.
I disagree. I think the advantage is actually with Ricardo.
I think like right now it is Yuki, but I think
Uh,
Danny Rick
I I
can turn that
I
around.
still disagree. I think right now it's with Ricardo, especially. I mean, he's already beaten Yuki twice this season, and we're already 2 races in. Granted, they're still not points finishes, but a better position is a better position at the end of the day. We've talked about that last week, and also with the post-race antics by Sonoda, that you
Well,
just
yeah,
can't have that no matter what team you're on. I don't care if you're on Williams or Mercedes when they were dominating. You can't act that way whatsoever. The team made a call. The team makes a call. You have to listen to the team at the end of the day. They are your employers.
yeah, I do agree with that. And well, I was actually considering that point. Thing is, I think if Yuki Tsunoda like actually manages to dominate, he's still not getting that seat.
I I
I
I
I
don't
just don't
think
see it
so
at
either.
all. I mean, this is his fourth season now, and he's still, behaving like that. Max cooled down by that time, and
Max
you,
cooled down really by his 2nd or 3rd season,
yeah, exactly.
frankly.
So I mean,
We don't talk about Brazil outbursts.
I mean, I understand why because I
I do
mean,
too.
Ocon moment, but like that one was understandable because, well, yeah, yeah. I mean, if
We
if I
don't
were
need to
if
talk
I were
about that.
Max, I would not have shoved him. I would be getting a race ban very quickly.
Is this
um,
the correct one?
yeah. I'd just be pulling a Yuri Vips at that point. Wait, no, Yuri Vips. Dan Tictum. There we go.
Whoa! Whoa!
Yeah, I got the names mixed up because I remember them both as a Red Bull juniors who completely ruined their careers by doing stupid things. I would not be doing the Yuri Vips one. I would be doing the Dan Tictum one, which, of course, terrible for
Neither
very
are
different
good.
reasons. No, they're not. They're absolutely not. Of course, Yuri Vips, I mean, all it took was one word. We all know what it is, and I refuse to utter it for obvious
Uh,
reasons.
uh, uh,
Eh, yeah, I mean, like, how do you do that? Anyways, that point aside, whew, yeah, it's been a long day, and I'm terrible with names for those who don't know.
You don't say.
Yeah, I really am. Like, oh boy.
I'm just
Anyways,
waiting for you to mess up someone else's name at some
oh,
point.
it's going to happen. It's absolutely going
Mhm.
to happen. So, anyways, yeah, Yuki, I don't think we'll get the seat at all. If anything, I only see him going to Aston Martin because of the Honda connection. And well, some might say, well, he's a Red Bull Junior driver. And I respond with, he really only got that because of Honda more than anything else. Helmut Marko did have some influence in it too, but I mean, there's a reason why Yuki has the HRC sponsorship on his helmet specifically.
Mhm.
Because Honda specifically backs him.
Yeah.
And well, no surprise, Japanese driver, Japanese company. Who could have seen
Well, I
that
mean,
one
it's
coming?
it's also pretty much been stated. It's not like a confirmed quote, but it's like if he wasn't backed by Honda, Helmut Marko would not have had him in there.
And well, yeah, pretty much. Like in
He would have
2021,
put
when
Liam Lawson in there with Ricardo.
well, yeah, in 2021, had you like, let's say Yuki didn't have that Honda backing, Alex Albon probably would have returned.
Yeah.
But because of the Honda connection, And also, Yuki showed some potential, which Helmut Marko saw. He got the seat. Now, honestly, at this point, I definitely think Alex has been far more impressive than Yuki.
Yeah.
Like, he was almost like top five for me last year in terms of driver performance. He was working magic. And he's still doing well this season, albeit his car just isn't as impressive in some facets as it
Right.
was before. He's still doing great with what he's got. But yeah, like with the Red Bull situation, the other thing involved in all of this is, of course, well, obviously the one who would be replacing Red Bull is Checo. But right now, like, yeah, last season he had a horrific slump in the middle of the season. But this time around, and yes, it's only been 2 races. Still, in those 2 races, he's been doing
He's looking
exactly what he's needed to do. Like,
he's been looking decently good. I've had 0 complaints about
yeah,
Checo.
exactly.
I mean, granted, he did get a 5-second, which he deserved, but we move.
Yeah, I mean, he got a 5 second, but it didn't matter. He still got second
Yeah.
place. Like he's doing exactly what he needs to be, acting as a good number two, bringing home the second place. If ever and anything happens to Max, he's
And
there to pick up the pieces.
he
Like
also
he's
looked
right.
competitive against Max, which we haven't seen that in almost a year.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually showing a little bit of bite, I guess you could say. Like he's actually, he's fighting a little bit, but he's not going too far like he did before. Honestly, I think he's kind of aware that he's not going to be able to beat Max, which I mean, that's nothing to be ashamed of considering Max is a generational talent and like I mentioned before, he lives and breathes racing. Checo is not, and he has a family. And as someone mentioned, I don't remember who it was, but the quote was, you know, for each family member you have, you lose a tenth, essentially.
Mhm.
And well, Checo has
I
got a full
That's not what
family.
I thought you were saying at all.
Nope. But in a way, it as much as I hate to say it, it is kind of true because I mean, look
It
at Vettel. He
is.
definitely lost some of the fire that he had after his family started to grow.
I mean, it was
Meanwhile,
really his Ferrari tenure was ending. That's when he really lost that edge.
well, yeah, but also, I mean, being taking a few years in Ferrari with just no success in terms of championships
I mean,
kind of
it
broke
really
him.
his last real chance to me was 2018.
Oh yeah, and well, that was kind of on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Well, I
2017.
mean, it also sucked that by the end, like, he lost all confidence in the car.
Oh yeah, it was just
And
unfortunate to
Ferrari
witness.
also pretty much gave up at that point, which doesn't help.
Yeah, of course. Well, that was then, and this is now. And
Yeah.
Mercedes cannot throw money at the problem anymore. Uh, yeah. Anyways, back.
Someone be happy about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. We've really been going off topic.
We have.
Yeah, with the Red Bull thing, like you mentioned before, Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson really proved himself in his little reserve stint. He nearly won Super Formula as well. On top of that,
Yeah.
and even like by the end of 2023, he was basically told by Helmut Marko, "Hey, we're gonna get you a seat by 2025." And the thing is, for me, one way or another, Liam Lawson is getting that RBC next year. Because, I mean, he's still young. He's got plenty of good years ahead of him. He's already proven himself capable. But, they still have this little conflict going on. Because Yuki, he shows signs of excellence, and then he does something stupid. And Daniel Ricciardo, like, everybody remembers how incredible he was in his heyday. But we don't know if he's still got that or not. And so this is just going to be a little bit of a slow game, I think. And we'll have a better
Right.
idea by mid-season. And I think, honestly, by then, you know, depending on how things go, I have a feeling the tenure of one of those drivers could be cut a little bit short, depending on what happens.
So, I mean,
And
as it
so,
stands right now, I don't think it will if he
yeah,
keeps up his
well,
form.
right. I mean, we'll have to see what happens. And some might say, "What? They would never do that." My counter argument is Nick DeVries.
Pierre Gasly,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, Nick DeVries,
Danny
uh,
Kvyat, I could keep going.
yeah, Nick DeVries though, I mean, he deserved it. I'm going to be
Yeah.
entirely honest. He got embarrassed by Yuki,
Mhm.
and Yuki, I still consider to be like he's good, but he's not like. I still rate him lower than Gasly and Ocon, for example.
Right.
And I mean, if Yuki, who like is more like the middle level of Formula One drivers, destroy De Vries, what does it make De Vries? Really, just below average. Like he's
Guy who
just
flunked out of Harvard.
oof. I mean, he flunked out of a Formula One seat too. So I mean, I'm just saying. But
Yeah.
he had a rough time of it. But at the same time, he didn't show any promise. That he didn't live up to his own hype, to put it
Mhm.
simply. But as for that RB seat, they still got the situation with Checo, Danny Rick, Yuki, Liam, and I mean, who knows what some of the Red Bull juniors could be doing down in the lower levels, and who knows, maybe one of them will really step up their game, and suddenly they have another driver who could fill in that seat. And I
Right.
mean, there's a lot going on, and of course, with all the Red Bull rumors, which we still won't fully address, there are a couple rumors floating about that Max might jump ship to Mercedes. Will that happen? Probably not, but we can't
We don't
deny
know.
the possibility. And it can happen. And some might say, "What? That's unbelievable." My counter argument is Lewis to Ferrari. So, I mean, if that can happen, I'm going to be honest, any regular expectations I've had, I've officially just thrown out the window.
Mhm.
Oh, wait, no, the window is over there. There we go. Threw it out there. Um,
It's confirmed Lando Norris to RB at this point.
if Lando Norris goes to RB, I I will officially stop being a Lando fan. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah, you'll have some very choice words.
Yeah, I am going to. Well, I will still be a McLaren fan, but I'd just be like, well, great. Guess I'm a Piastri fan now. If he moved to RB, now if he moves to Red Bull, that's a different story. In which case, I'm gonna have to buy some Red Bull merch now. I doubt Lando would move to Red Bull unless Max left, though. But
Yeah.
honestly, even then, I still see him sticking with McLaren. But let's say hypothetically, Max does leave. Who fills in the seat? Now, one rumor that I did see, which I don't entirely buy, is they would buy out Oscar Piastri and Alex Albon. Alex Albon, I could actually see. I could genuinely see him returning to
Piastri,
Red
no.
Bull. I agree. I don't see Piastri leaving. Albon, on the other hand, I absolutely would see that if Max is
Without
gone.
Max?
Yeah, I mean, Red
Yeah.
Bull still has close ties to him because, well, he's a tie driver and Red Bull has a tie half of the company. They still sponsor him subtly through Monsoon Valley. So, I mean, they still have those ties to him. Albon has really proven himself lately. He's been familiar with the team. They really like working with them. They already tried buying him out not too long ago, which he refused. So, I mean, you know, if that were to happen, I could see him returning, which
Yeah.
honestly would be quite interesting to see. But yeah, that's pretty much every point covered. One
Nope,
thing
we
we
have one
will
more.
be well, I was about to say one thing we will be doing as well from now on is we'll be doing a rundown of Formula 2, which Pat is going to be doing.
Yeah, so we are 2 rounds in at this point with Bahrain and Jeddah. Um, Obviously the front runner right now is Zane Maloney, which I can't be too surprised. Zane's a very good driver, and then you also in second, third got Fittipaldi and Hauger. Other big storyline, Behrman at 0 points for obvious reasons. But there's two drivers I do want to quickly cover, and that it first is gonna be Zane Maloney, the 20-year-old Barbadian from Barbados,
Yeah.
with the Sauber Academy.
Yeah,
Now
I
that
mean,
could be interesting.
it is interesting because here's the thing: people have been hyping up Teo Porcher for the Sauber seat, but I mean, he's currently leading. And isn't this his rookie year? I want to say, or is this his second?
It is his first full season. He did the last two
Okay, this is
races
his first
last
full
season.
season, and he's currently leading. I'm just saying, if he wins in his rookie season, I'm sorry, Joe, but you're gone. Uh,
He's already ahead by 15 points.
that's a decently sized gap, and I mean, he also did the double. He won the sprint and the full feature
He
race.
did a full sweep on
Yeah,
Bahrain.
yeah. Which I mean, in the opening round, no less. Yeah, the premas weren't very good, but it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Like that's still an impressive result, and out the gate,
Yeah.
no less. I mean,
Mhm.
I honestly, among the drivers, Zay Maloney wasn't really the one I was hyping up, which I'm honestly
right?
kind of happy about that. I was honestly hyping up, well, of course, Kimi Antonelli, Ollie
Who's not
Behrman.
done extremely great, but
Well,
it's still his rookie season.
it's still his rookie season, and it seems the premas just aren't as impressive in the quote unquote spec series. Um, it's not spec, but
Yeah,
you know, Prema just
but
hasn't been up to scratch. Zach Sullivan, I think, has just been anonymous thus far.
he has. But
Yeah,
there's one more driver that I do want to highlight, and it's the 18-year-old making his first ever appearance in F2. This is his first season. Jack Crawford, and I mean he's already been on the podium once. He just missed out again this week by 300ths of a second.
Pat
He
Crawford.
almost had it again,
What
and he's in hmm?
what academy is he with? Is he with Alpine?
Aston Martin.
Wait, he's with the Aston Martin. Oh my
He
god.
was with Red Bull, got dropped, and Aston said, "We'll take that."
Wouldn't be the first time Aston stole from Red Bull.
But,
Um,
I mean, I don't I think that's a good academy for him right now.
oh
I
yeah. I
really do.
mean, Aston is certainly not a bad place to be, especially since
Brand new facilities.
yeah, especially since like in my mind, I'm still kind of seeing Stroll just moving on and going into the Aston Hypercar program next year.
Which, if he does well enough, maybe a little
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I think like I could see Lance moving on because it's just like it's Formula One isn't working out. But
mhm,
hey, World Endurance Championship is the highest level. Granted,
mhm,
like Formula One is still considered to be like the pinnacle of motorsport,
yeah.
but World
But
Endurance is
endurance
like
is no push.
well, no, it's absolutely not. Like it's basically considered to be on the same level, if not like
Yeah.
just behind. So I mean,
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though, with Jack, we gotta remember. He's still 18.
oh yeah,
He's gonna turn 19 this year in May, but he's young. Like, if he doesn't get out this year, it's not the end of the world. If
oh
he
yeah,
goes
absolutely.
through next year, he'll only be 20.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kimi Antonelli is only 17,
He
which,
can't make it up yet because I think he's already turned 17 this year.
yeah, like, Kimi Antonelli is still incredibly young, and he managed to score points, which is good. And, I think it'll show more promise over time, especially if Prema fixes the car. But,
Mhm.
well, I'll have to see what happens. Yeah, I definitely think he's showing potential, but, that's pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to circle back to one quick thing. Just one little bit more praise for Ollie Behrman,
Yeah.
almost out qualifying Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. Again, Lewis just looked off his game this week, and Behrman
Well, I
did a
mean,
good job.
still props to Ollie.
Oh yeah, 100%. We'll see if he'll be showing up in Australia, and if he does, we'll see what he can do. Although, oh, one more thing, I completely forgot to bring this up. The McLaren versus Mercedes battle. I don't, I'm pretty sure quite a few people noticed, but I think we found McLaren's strong point, that being high-speed corners. Because on the onboard with Lewis, like there we go, audio error. But like Yukio could see it at first. It was just Lando was just like right here, and then just like a few corners later, he's just on. And it was kind of insane to watch that run through Sector 1. Because, I mean, Lando was dancing around those corners with like no effort. While the Mercedes was just like struggling. So, I mean,
Eh,
I'm curious to see how they fare in other circuits with high speed
uh,
corners.
like Australia.
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy? Especially since,
Like,
that was when the McLaren was still bad last year and Lando managed to get a P7. Wouldn't it be crazy
I'm gonna
if
throw this
the
prediction out there.
McLaren, wouldn't it be crazy if the McLaren that was really good at high speed corners at a high speed circuit managed to get a podium? Wouldn't that be crazy?
Thanks for stealing my prediction. I was gonna say Lando P3.
No,
That's my prediction.
I could see it. And
P2 right now, I think is a bit off.
I
If
mean
they get help,
we
if they
saw
get
how well
help.
Checo did last year.
I mean, if they get some help, I think it could be on. But right now, I think P3 is
Yeah.
could be
Speaking
on the
of
card.
Australia, I have to say I really am happy for them as of late. I mean, they have three drivers on the grid to represent them. So I
Are they
mean,
still upside down?
maybe I don't know. I mean, like, still three drivers representing Australia is kind of incredible for them. It's not often
Yeah.
that you see that thing. Now, some might say, well, Piastri and Ricardo, who's the third? It's Bottas. At this point, Australia has basically just
They've
said,
adopted him.
yeah, they literally just said, screw you, Finland, he's ours now. That's basically what it is. So, I mean, like, even on the Australia poster, it is the three of them on it. Like, that is not a coincidence. Australia has
Right.
adopted him full on, which you love to see it. And I think we'll all be loving to see what happens in a couple weeks when we do watch the Australian GP. And it's going to suck to watch that 1 a.m. in the morning for those who live on Eastern time.
We've done it before, we'll do it again.
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely going to stay up and do that. And then I'm going to hate my life the following morning. But,
I feel like
we
you and I are
move.
just gonna talk together while we watch it
Oh
again.
yeah, I can't wait to watch an absolute massacre like we did last year. So that's gonna be fun. But we'll be seeing you all in a couple weeks with the next episode, and we'll be working on another thing that's a little bit more special for those in the MRL F1 League. And you'll be seeing that soon enough. If you have any episode requests, be sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe, the whole shebang. And thanks for watching. I've been Mach Mage,
I've been Pat.
and we'll be seeing you all next time.